Ms. Yoakum, in your statement, you referred to your report titled Medicaid Demonstrations, Approval Criteria and Documentation Needs to Show How Spending Furthers Medicaid Objectives. You highlight how HHS has approved questionable methods and assumptions for spending estimates without providing adequate documentation. You also mentioned HHS does not have explicit criteria explaining how it determines how spending in the demonstration program furthers Medicaid objectives. You also note their approval documents are not always clear on what expenditures are for and how it will promote Medicaid objectives. Can you talk about what recommendations have GAO made in this area that have not been accepted or implemented by HHS or CMS?
I'll answer that question. Yes, we have made several recommendations to CMS around those issues that you point out. One is to issue criteria regarding how CMS assesses whether or not approved new spending under demonstrations will further objectives. A second is to apply that criteria in the documentation and make the documentation transparent. And a third relates to providing assurances in the documentation that approved spending will not duplicate other federal funding sources. CMS agreed with the second two, the latter two, and partially agreed with our recommendation to issue criteria on how they assess spending.
Have these recommendations been implemented, and then why not, Ms. Wachino?
We have implemented the GAO's recommendations with respect to ensuring our approval documents are clear, with respect to the criteria we use, with ensuring that there's no duplication of federal fundings, and ensuring that we are consistently and clearly articulating when we meet the objectives of when we determine that a particular authority meets the objectives of the Medicaid program. We moved forward with that implementation, with implementing those policies while the report was still in draft, and so have worked very actively over the past several months to ensure that our approval documents are clear.
Ms. Yoakum, what do you have to say about that? Do you agree?
I really have to defer to Ms. Aratani. She's the expert in this area from GAO.
Please, please.
We have not reviewed the changes that Ms. Bacino has said that they have made, so we would need to do that in order to see how they are documenting their approvals. That said, we still feel strongly that there should be more transparent criteria for how they assess whether or not new spending will further Medicaid objectives.
Okay, please get back to our committee after review these objectives, okay? Please, I'm sure most of the committee is interested in this, not all. Ms. Wachino, you probably know about Puerto Rico's financial challenges, which are rather severe. I'm sure you'll agree. A recent Morning Consult story highlighted the contrasting treatment that Puerto Rico receives under federal health care programs. For example, Puerto Rico has a rather low spending cap on its program. Are you monitoring the rate at which Puerto Rico is spending its Medicaid funds, and do you worry it will exhaust those funds well before 2019?
We are looking very closely at the overall situation in Puerto Rico, including its Medicaid spending, very aware that there are a bunch of very strong concerns about the finances of Puerto Rico, and considering what approaches we might take. We, last year, in approving some of their benefits, we offered flexibility, and they took us up on it with respect to their administration, and we're continuing to look at the spending in the program and options for assisting the Commonwealth.
In your estimation, will they exhaust the funds before 2019?
I would have to go back and look at that, Congressman, but I'm happy to submit our response for the record.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Wachino, CMS proposes to develop a Medicaid managed care quality rate system for managed care organizations in all states, which would presumably be similar to the Medicare Advantage 5-star rating system. However, research shows that CMS's current STAR system undervalues care provided to beneficiaries with low socioeconomic status. This is an area of growing bipartisan concern. So how does CMS plan to address this issue, especially since all the Medicaid beneficiaries are presumably low income?
Congressman, thank you for the question. Our proposal to implement the quality rating system is designed to make sure that low-income people are able to compare quality across plans and select plans in the same way that individuals in the private market and in Medicare Advantage can. We think that's a substantial advance in quality for our program and an assist to our consumers. We do plan on, should we finalize the rule, which as you know is out for public comment now, we propose to have pretty lengthy implementation schedules and a very substantial public input process so that we could identify the strengths of other quality rating systems, bring them to bear in ours, and make any needed adjustments that we need to account, to your point, for the low-income nature of our populations and the fact that our populations differ in some very important respects from those of Medicare and commercial insurers.
Okay, thank you very much. I yield back, Madam Chair.